So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about ball position. Okay, ball position varies depending on where people bottom out. Meaning, if I release my wrist real early, or if I'm falling back, I'm gonna have to hold off. If I move my body forward, I have to release. So people tend to put their ball position wherever it's convenient to get a good contact, or get good contact. Okay, I can't even speak English, sorry. So once we get this good contact, I get players who are over here and their ball position's back, and they're releasing it real early, and they're like, I'm getting good ball contact. And I say, listen, let's put your ball to where most of the pros play it. And guess what they look like? They're over here and they go, and they miss the whole ball, okay? So what do I do with a player like that, okay? Do I say, you have to keep it here? No, I work with them a little bit. But first thing is I work contact, okay? Number one I'll do is I'll take this here, and I will put this here and go, okay, let's see what it's like when you contact back here. It hits them in the side. So all of a sudden they learn to do this, and I put their ball position forward, and they still dump behind it. So I said, okay, let's put this here. Try one more time, keep the ball position there, and immediately they'll start to adjust to it, okay? They'll hit a couple chunks or whatever, but they have to get, they don't have to, but I'd like them to get a better contact position or impact with doing these first, and then we can change ball position around. Now, I'd like it stock, but when I get a person back here, usually it's because they're throwing. When I get a person here, it's usually because they're holding on or moving their body forward. So everybody has different matchups. Now, if they have good ball patterns, sometimes I won't mess with it. But if I could get a player who's very good and his normal ball position's here, which is off the left ear or left nipple, hands would be even with the ball, a little forward. Everybody's a little different, but that'd be my stock, okay? When I get a player who's good and has it back here, that means that he's gonna swing it more where? And out, okay? So the bottom of the arc goes like this. This is where it's at the target for 1 second, and it starts to go in to out, and then it starts to go left, okay? So at this point, the more and more I play it back in the stance, I'm gonna be coming from in to out, okay? So a lot of good players do that for draws, okay? When they want to play it back more, what do they need to do to start a draw? They need to get their ball to start right. So at a dress now, their face looks a little bit open as they play it back. And they just play a big old draw, okay? And that's a perfect draw, by the way. So they're getting their ball position further back, opening their face up to match for that pattern, okay? And they still get good compression. When a player plays it too far forward, their swing direction's going more left normally. So they need the face to be a little bit open of that swing direction. It's still close to the target for those guys who are quizzing me, okay? Still, that's what's gonna create a little cut pattern, okay? So depending on who you are, where you're bottoming out, ideally where I'd like you to bottom out would be in the position I told you, and I'd like the left hand to be on the shoe, okay? That means that you could bottom out in the correct position. Now, the driver, I'm gonna have more tilt, and I'd have it more off of the armpit as a stock position. So now I have the driver, I have more tilt, and my armpit, I'd have it off my armpit, and people go, why do you do it off your armpit instead of the inside of your feet, okay? And I go, great question, let me answer that for you. If I put it off the feet and I got super wide, look at where my hands are gonna be. If I put it off my armpit, no matter how much tilt or how wide I get, my hands are always gonna be in the same position, okay? So people go, okay, let me get real wide like that. My hands are still in the same position, okay? So if I start going real wide and I get here, then all of a sudden, I have a different bottom out. So I like to do it off the upper body, get a little tilt with your driver, then play it off your armpit, and you'd be more in this position right here for the driver. Could you have it back or here? Obviously, you can do whatever you want, okay? Whatever feels better, but in general, that'd be a great stock position for you to start with. So ball position changes if you want different heights, okay? So if I wanna hit a low ball, I play it more back, obviously, and if I wanted to hit it back, what's gonna happen is I'm either gonna have to get my face more right to hit a draw, or I'm gonna have to get my feet more left in order to offset the in to out because it's so far back in my stance. So I'm gonna get my face at the target, my feet more left to offset the downward angle of a path that's bringing my path, downward angle of attack that's bringing my path more to the right. I have to offset it with my feet more left. So that's why ball position is so different for every person, is because they all have different shot patterns, different heights they prefer on their ball. So I always match them up on TrackMan, and it's really easy, but it's pretty technical. But usually it depends on what they want, okay? Higher ball flights, they want cuts, draws, whatever. So that depends on where I put their ball position. But stock position, let's keep it simple. Left nipple for the irons and right off the armpit for the driver, okay? Simple. All right, so I was reading some of my comments about what people wanted, and Walter Allred said, I want to know if I have a weak grip, if it's okay, or a strong grip, and how it matches up, okay? When I get a good player, what they end up telling me is, listen, I don't want to change my grip. You don't have to change your grip. You get, let's go, Dustin Johnson, super strong, and then we got #1 Jordan Spieth was super weak, okay? So those are two awesome players, okay? Completely different. So how do they match up differently? It all depends on, obviously, if you want to hit a low ball, high ball, what you really want in general, but I don't care where your grip's at, okay? I do if you're a beginner, okay? I want everything at 45. So when I say, hey, listen, my arms hang at 45, okay? That's straight, that's 90. They hang around 45. So if I put this on at 45, that's where that would be, okay? So my checkpoint would be on a stock player. That's called your snuff hole. I like it on the right side of your shaft. Does it have to be there? No, okay? But I'm gonna give you a stock grip. Now this one hangs over and it's all in the fingers, kind of like Hogan. I stole that from Hogan, okay? It's not down in the palm. So my arm just hangs, okay? And I bring it up and it's still not gonna be in that position. It's gonna come in, it's gonna get a little stronger. This being stronger, this being weaker, okay? So, and this is stronger, this is weaker, okay? So, that's a very neutral grip right about there, okay? Whether you wanna believe it or not, I don't care. So here's the deal. So that's very neutral. You could come over and make sure your face is square. So as I come in here, everything's neutral, and I know that I'd have to have a perfect swing, perfect angle of attack, everything to match up to have a perfect path, perfect face, okay? So that's why I don't do that, by the way. I actually like patterns. I like to have a draw or cut, but we're gonna talk about face angle like you asked, okay? So let's say my grip is super strong, okay? Now, most people are gonna tend to want to roll back to where 45 is. So what's that gonna do to me? It's gonna make it go down more. If I have a really weak grip, it's gonna wanna do what? Turn back to 45, which is gonna do what? Open the face up, okay? That's naturally what most players are gonna do. Now, you got Jordan Spieth, who's pretty weak, okay? This might be exaggerated, but it looks like it to me, okay? So you're gonna watch that Jordan will actually have a very, very bowed wrist, which the proper anatomical term would be flexion, okay? This is called flexion, okay? So he's gonna have it very, very bowed, and it's gonna be about 25 degrees. That's toe up, that's what I was taught. So I had an earlier release, but in general, most players are about 15 to 25 degrees closed of straight up, okay? That's a great checkpoint. Now, what that tells you is that as you come in, you could be more rotational, okay? If I was a hockey player and this was closed, would I start releasing? No, I'd hold and turn, okay? So knowing that, you know, we've got hockey players that are closed and they just turn for slap shots, here's the concept. If you had a super strong grip, it'd want to be more closed. But if we could keep it 25 degrees here with a strong grip, or we had a really weak grip and we had it bowed down like this and it was 25, who cares where your grip's at, okay? It just depends on your matchups. Now, what would the matchups difference look from a dress? Come on over to the face so you can see. So here's my impact, and it impact my left hand to be in the same direction. You're gonna see it come in the same direction, but that is now back to square, okay? Now, you're gonna see a guy who's super weak, he can't be in this position, okay? So if you change the guy from here to here, and all of a sudden he had the same release, he's gonna come and open like this. So he'd have to come back over here, okay? So a weaker guy, as he pushes the hand on his left shoe, he's gonna come from here, and he's gonna have to have that thing more bowed down and a little bit more of supination, okay? So we haven't got into any type of a release pattern, but in general, if you have a weak grip, you tend to want to, if you want to get optimal flights, have more flexion here. And if you had a real strong grip, you'd want to have it more cupped here in this position to have it at 25. Now, are there people who are here? Yes, with a strong grip, yeah. And they have a different release. They have a hold on. If you have a guy here, I've got guys who are real weak and they're trying to flip it. Is that optimal flights? No. You're adding loft, you're adding timing, and it's not as optimal, okay? So we want to take that out of play, okay? But can you change your grips and match them up? It's all over the tour, okay? So if someone tells you you have to have the same grip or a perfect grip, run, okay? Because it's not true. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about grips and why they matter and where they match up. So everything in golf to me is a matchup. So that's why I wouldn't write a book, number one, is because when you write a book, you're one-dimensional. If you had a bunch of different matchups is key. That's what you're looking at on tour. You're not looking at one guy. Like, you look at Dustin Johnson. Should everybody be there? Well, it depends on where your grip's at and what kind of ball patterns you want. He's a low ball hitter, obviously, because his face is more on the shut side. He holds off a little bit and he turns. Then you got another really solid player would be Spieth. His grip is super the opposite. And the only way he's getting the face square is he's got a lot of flexion in the left hand. So I'm going to take you through all those patterns right now and find out where the matchups are at, okay? So let's do a hypothetical here. Let's imagine the swing is on the same exact path on every swing. Oh, I'm sorry, not the swing path, but the swing direction is the same. The swing plane would be very, very similar, the shaft plane, okay? So here's what we're gonna look at. Number one, I'm gonna start with 3 different grips, okay? I'm gonna start with one that's ridiculously weak, okay? This is ridiculously strong, okay? And how you depend that is if I went clockwise, what happens? It's strong. And if you go this way, it's weak. Now, how does that work, okay? If I let my arms hang from my side, they hang at like 45s. That being straight, that being 90, that's 45, okay? So if I just took this grip and went in it pretty neutral, you're gonna see this snuff hole here for doing tobacco back in the day, okay, would be at a right center to the center of the club head shaft or the grip, okay? So that's on the right center of the grip. So I can see 2 knuckles here. This V is at my right armpit. That would be an absolutely neutral grip, okay? So where's that placed in the hand? That's right about here, right through the calluses. Are there great players here? Yes. Are there great players down here? Yes. We're not talking about that. We're talking straight up stock would be right about there, okay? So we got some guys who are longer thumb and some are short, okay? Long thumbers actually believe that you wouldn't have as much wrist hinge, okay? And short thumbers have a lot more mobility in their wrists, okay? Big deal, okay? You can do whatever you want, I could care less. I would say once we get a stock grip, or actually I'm gonna start with forget the stock grip and why it was a stock grip. If it lets it hang, there's a hanging position. If I put it over here, where does it wanna hang? Right at that 45, where's that face? Can you see that face? Okay, that's wide open. Let's put it way over here and let it hang at 45. What did that do to the face? It closes it, it's obvious, okay? But a lot of people don't know that. This hand applies the same way. I let it hang, and it hangs here, okay? So I've got a lot of players who have it way over here because they slice, and where's it really want to hang? Right there, they're just opening the face. So a guy who's way strong is gonna want to do what? Turn it this way. So if you're a slicer, don't be trying to square the face going this way, okay? That's the opposite of what really should happen. You should actually be trying to do this if you're a beginner, okay? So that's the key to the grip. Now, here's what we're gonna talk about now. We're gonna talk about the matchups. So go ahead and come back on over here so you can see right about here. So here's my left hand being super weak, okay? What I'm gonna do is I'm going to show you that at impact, my left hand to this is going to be in the same direction I started it. See that right there? Now I get a super strong grip, and my hand wouldn't be back in that same position because now the face is closed. So we're going to keep it in that same direction, but just move it forward to the left shoe, okay? So here we go. This is how we're gonna figure this out. So I got a weak grip, and I want my face, as I come back down, to be at 25 degrees shut. Now look at how bowed down that wrist is. That's called flexion, or you can call it bowed down. If you don't know the anatomical terms, I could care less. But here's the deal. I am coming into a position that most people would be right here with that grip, okay? So I want that thing to bow down to 25. So no matter where your grip is at, whether it's over here, that's 25 to 15 degrees shut, okay? Look at the wrist angle. And then I have a guy who's really weak and he has to bow it down to here. Find out what's comfortable with your wrist angle to get you in that position. That would be ideal. But I've got great players who do both. So do I change them? No. If it's uncomfortable for them to get to this position because it feels like their wrist is hurting, yes, I'll move them over here so it doesn't feel like they're having to do this so much. But you're obviously looking at my number one player, one of my number one juniors is Matthew Wolff. His grip is like this. And guess what? He's right in the same position that Jordan Spieth is here. They're kind of both successful, okay? Then you got guys over here with strong grips, and this is more cupped up into an extension position, and that's still the same exact position. So It depends on what your comfortability is, okay? So now we're gonna look from this position, what happens to a weaker guy. I'm gonna stand face on with you. We're gonna see where this starts. You're gonna see that most players are pointing right at you, 3D here, okay? So from this position, if I just turned, it's not gonna get back to square. If I flex it down a little bit and add a little bit of this as my body rotates, you're gonna watch that the wrist worked in 3. Okay, so when I say the wrist work in 3, what is the wrist work in 3? Boom, that's flexion. This is ulnar, okay, or a little release. And what happened there also is that's supinating, okay? So if you look here as I'm doing this, you're gonna see that it's boom. As I rotate, it got back to its original position. So the guys who are actually releasing it the best, or not the best, are usually guys who have very neutral, okay? Boom, here, boom, and that's all they're working on. So when I was a kid, all I'd do is I'd go, okay, impact, back to dress, first parallel, impact, and I just hit little shots like that, dead straight down the target, okay? All right, right now we're gonna talk about target line. How to set up for target line is probably the biggest key. Now, that all depends on someone's swing direction. So if I'm going at this orange flag, out in the distance I have a 7-iron, about 185, let's say. Let's say I'm going at that target. Now, I get a guy who swings way into out. I would like to fix that swing direction first, but let's say I don't. And he's aiming over here, but he actually throws it right on the orange. And that was probably one of the better shots I've hit for that far left, okay? Right at the orange, okay? So my point being is everybody's gonna aim a little differently depending on what their swing direction is, okay? So here's would be advice for a very, very neutral player, beginner or anyone, is the first thing that we would like to do is get something in front of you that determines start line, okay? So that's your target line. Now, if you're to draw the ball, your face is obviously going to be over to the right, okay? Because the ball starts closer to face than it does your path, okay? So what we're looking at, and that all depends on the club too, so what we're looking at here is, let's say I'm just going to hit a dead straight ball at the orange flag. Most players want to get their feet parallel to that. Now, there's so many other factors that we get into, is like angle of attack. I mean, does a lot of things to the path, okay? So here's the deal. If I was just going to be stock, I'd like to get my heel line parallel to my start line on an average club. Now, the more and more I hit down on a club, like a wedge 9 or 8, that pushes my path more over to the right. So I need to offset that by getting my feet more to the left. Or I could play my ball position further forward. Now, if I play my ball position further forward, now I don't have to move my feet over to the left to offset angle of attack. But now I have a problem with hitting optimal with each club, okay? So I would play a wedge back to get a little more distance because I'm gonna actually take my dynamic loft down or my D-loft down, but now I gotta offset it by getting my feet left. So forget all these impossible equations for you guys that aren't around golf all the time. Let's keep this super simple. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pick a target line like this. Let's try and keep our heel line, not our toe line, parallel with that, and keep it that simple. Now, we'd want to get our hips, our forearms, our shoulders all parallel to that line, just as a stock product for now, okay? Now, I'm going to show you something here along these little lines. Here's a line, and I'm going to put my heels on this line, and my toe line is also parallel, okay? So they're both parallel here, all right? Now, if I duck my foot out to the left, am I aiming still parallel to these lines, or am I aiming left? The question would be, or the correct answer would be, I'm still parallel. Why? Because my heel line is where I want you to understand is more of what we're looking for, not our toe line. So if I brought my toe line all the way up to parallel with these lines, I think that's parallel or close. I think it'd have to be a little bit more. Now all of a sudden you can see my heel line is more to the right. So what's really important is your heel line, okay? If we're looking at what we're trying to be parallel with. Now, am I parallel with everybody? You know I'm not. all depends on a lot of other factors. But right now, for a stock product, let's get our face at the target, okay? Get our heel line parallel, okay? You can get everything square. If you duck your foot out, your heel line will be parallel to that on a stock swing for now, okay? Perfect. All right, guys, here we go. We're gonna get on TrackMan right now, and we're gonna see if I'm very good, okay? We're gonna see if I can actually get my ball to start on my chalk line, which is my face line, and see how much it curves depending on how far the path was shifted to the right or to the left. But the goal here is to start the face where we want the ball to start. So right now I'm gonna attempt to hit a draw, okay? And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna get my face out at like 4 degrees in relation to that target, okay? So ideally people go, okay, then your path needs to be 8. Well, it all depends, like I said, on angle of attack. So I'm gonna hit about 6 degrees down. So that means my swing direction is gonna be here and it's gonna push the path over here, okay? But right now, I'm not even worried about anything but my start line right now. We're gonna try and start my face at about 4 degrees right. Now, how do I do that? Do I get back here and make sure this is in line with the 4 degrees? And I go, yeah, it's pretty close, okay? So do I just go and I start hitting shots? No, I don't, but I'm gonna hit one for you and see if I can get my face back to 4 degrees. Boom, okay? So that was pretty close. It's almost what I wanted to do. Now let's make sure this TrackMan works. Okay, let's see. I wanted to get my face over at 4, and there's 4.8. So I did a pretty damn good job. That was good start line control, 4.8. Closer than most would do their first try. Okay, I'm trying to get my face to start at 4 and then get my path right of that, which is equal perfect turn, okay? So I just tried to get it at 4. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna show you how I want you guys to work on starting it online, okay? So we come over here. I do the same thing I just did before, but now I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna set up and I'm gonna go impact. Now, is my impact square to the target? No. It's 4 degrees right, okay? So you guys don't know what 4 degrees right is, but you can create a pattern just by starting it on that line, okay? So I want to start my, my ball a little right. Here it is. So I'm going to go impact. I'm going to take it back to here, and I'm going to do a little chip with rotation. Boom, okay? So that was probably perfect. Let's see. So let's see if my face started over on 4. So my face starts at 4. Wow, that was good, okay? So that's me getting lucky. That's a first take. 4.2, that means my face started right on the 4, and I put a perfect amount of curve on that, okay, guys? So that's how I do it. I just sit here, and I'm trying to hit little chip shots with my face. Boom, impact. I have about 45 degrees of hip turn, 30 degrees of chest turn, right arm still bent, and then my arms extend. But right now, we're just doing little chips, impact, back to here, and boom, and get that start line control right. Boom, boom, okay? Now, that ball was still good, but that started out probably about 5 or 6, okay? I knew that thing started a little bit more right. Let's see, 5.7, I said 5 or 6, okay? So it started out a little bit more right, which means I know where my ball's starting. Now, if the ball starts on the 4 and it over curves all the way across the target, that means my path was too far right. If the ball doesn't turn at all, it stays right on the 4, that means my path was right on the 4 also. If the ball turns perfectly back there, that means the path was out about 8 degrees, okay? Now, when I'm getting my face on 4 degrees, that means that's where the ball's starting. Does it start 100% there? No, but we're saying it does, okay? If it doesn't overdraw, which I don't want it to be, my path would want to be about 6 or 7 degrees. 8 will draw all the way back to the target. We're trying not to over curve that. So get the start line, don't get your path too far shifted out to the right. Now, if it's starting on line and over hooking, check your body lines. Your body lines are representing your path, okay? You're actually also, your angle of attack, you put it too far back in the stance, it's gonna shift your path out too far right too. So check your body lines and your setup of where you're putting the ball, and then you'll be good from there. All right, guys, that should help you a lot. All right, peace. All right, so here's the deal. We have a difference between weight and pressure. And how we know the difference is because now we have these pressure pads, okay? We have face plates, which are telling where the pressure is in the golf swing, okay? So I'm gonna give you an example. If someone was 100% of their weight over here, okay? And all of a sudden, they went back and they pushed. It looks like I still have all my weight here, and I pushed off this, and then I pushed back. You'd notice that my mass was all over on the left side, but my pressure went from 100% over here to about 50-50 as I push down, even though it looks like it's all there. So pressure is definitely different than weight, but I'm gonna give you a stock where the weight or the pressure should be. Let's just call it pressure first, okay? Because that'll unconfuse you, okay? So if you went to the top and you looked at most players, a lot of players in my day believed that there should be 90% of the pressure over here, okay? Nowadays, we're going 80%. Now, what does it matter? It matters because, one, we're trying to optimize what? Distance, okay? So if we're way over here and then we're backing out of it, we're not gonna create the max ground pressure, okay? So we're looking to create the max ground pressure. We're also looking to have a consistent direction of the swing, okay? Meaning, if I start to push all my weight forward, all of a sudden I'm gonna back up out of it and do what? Come from the inside, okay? So if I go all the way back, I'm probably gonna come right across the ball for a lot of hacks, okay? So it depends on where your weight or your pressure goes throughout the golf swing. So here's the deal. I would say if I was gonna have a perfect guideline, which means nothing, okay? I would say if I was gonna go to the top, I'd say let's get about 70-30 here, okay? In my day, it was like 90-10. Stacking tilters were trying to go 60-40 or 50-50, I don't even know, 55-45. But what I'm trying to tell you is let's just keep like 60-40, 70-30, whatever's more comfortable, okay? And then as we start down, we're gonna try and feel like the left hip goes lower than the right, but the right goes into flexion. So we're gonna feel 60-40 on the left to 50-50 at left arm parallel, okay? Then you're gonna come in here and it's gonna feel 60-40 on the left. And then at impact, you're gonna push off or feel like this left leg is just clearing, and you're gonna feel like about 80-20 to what, 90-10, okay? And let's go 85-15, okay? On the left side, okay, that would be a stock model. Now, people go, well, what iron's that? Let's just keep it right in the middle at 5 iron, okay? Because if I went to a wedge, it'd be different pressure than it would be a driver, okay? So let's say we have the driver now. I would like to see your shoulder a little bit lower, so that's gonna be 55-45, more on the right. We're gonna load up a little bit more on the right with the driver, so we're going over 80-20. As we come down, I want to squat in this with the driver. I'm still 50-50 here, 60-40 on the left, okay? And then I'm actually almost 70-30 to 60-40 with the driver, okay? A lot of people want to be 90-10, but you look at some of the long drivers and most of their weight a lot of time is on the back foot, okay? So it depends on where, are we talking ball direction? Because if you want to hit it the hardest, yeah, you could back up out of it and hit it pretty hard. But if you're not looking at moving weight forward and then backwards and dumping it under and hitting high, big draws, then we're talking something different, okay? We're talking long drive, but we're talking efficiency overall. I would keep it pretty simple at those numbers. But in general, if I saw you, everything would be different depending on each person. Depending on what you wanted, what kind of spin rate you are. If you're hitting down on it, I'll optimize just setup where you need to be with your setup, where you're moving your weight and your feet, all different things, okay? But if you would look at a general guideline, that's where I'd go, okay? But that's a very, very sticky question. If I'm with you, it's completely different than if I was writing a book, all right? Peace. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's what I would say is a good stock setup. Balls of the feet, kneecaps, armpits, okay? Now, that's where my armpits are at. My arms are allowed to hang right there. Now, here's the deal. A lot of players have different setups that are taller, okay? Let's say they have my setup. Let's say they're super tall, okay? They can't get to the ball. I don't want them bending over at the waist and getting their armpits out and their toes. I don't want them being anywhere over this way because you're gonna wanna suck your butt back under you through impact. Terrible balance points, you're gonna change your release, everything's gonna go haywire. So, for a taller player, I want them to either get wider or have more knee bend. But I want the armpits over the balls of the feet is a general standard position. When I get a person that comes in and they look like they have all this lower back arch, okay, and they're sitting in here like this, that means they're super tall and their butt has to go back. on their armpits are over on their toes. So they're always going to suck their butt under them. And that means they can't turn, and that means they're releasing all their angles, okay? So keep it real simple. Bend from the knees. Relax your shoulders. Get your armpits over the balls of the feet. It doesn't look pretty, but this looks pretty when you're smashing it, when your butt goes back. When you stick it back here and you think that looks good, like you're in prison, okay, you want to actually make sure that you're feeling like you're chilling, okay? And all of a sudden, you can just go, boom, your butt will go back through the ball. It won't suck in. So the main reason that people suck their butt in is because they get too far out this way and then they have to come this way. Or their armpits are too far back or too far over and they go this way, or they're too far back and all of a sudden they move into the ball and they jump up, okay? So keep that as a simple guideline. Get your armpits over the balls of your feet. Have a little round in the back, okay? Even though someone's gonna say that's wrong, but guess what? What were all the old timers doing? They're just chilling. And then everybody's trying to copy their old release, but they can't because their setup sucks, okay? So that's as simple as it gets. That's all you need to know. I'm not gonna give you more than that. Good luck. All right, so here's the deal. We're gonna talk about posture. A lot of people know about my posture, that I like sloppy posture at address. And the reason that I do is because I'm not getting ready yet until I start to load the ground in the downswing, okay? So you're gonna see a lot of guys who have either a straight back here or more arch in the back, okay? And we're gonna keep this simple. I don't want this pelvis out and my back straight, because now that puts my armpits out on my toe line, okay? I want my armpits, which are the back of my armpits here, over the balls of my feet, okay? So I'm gonna let them, first off, I'm gonna stand straight up and down. I'm gonna have a little knee bend, my armpits over the balls of the feet. Now to get to the ball, if I'm straight up like this at 180, there's no arch 180 or my butt's back, it's more under me. Now I'm gonna have a little knee bend. Now I'm gonna have to curl my upper back to get to the ball, otherwise I'm gonna be too tall, okay? But most people would come in and go, and come over this way, okay? Now the problem is, as soon as I get my pelvis back and ready, I wanna fire, okay? And that early extends, puts you into early extension, which does a lot of things. It doesn't allow you to turn. It brings your path out to the right. So some people try and, there's just a lot of ways that people mess it up when they go into extension. You also have to release all your angles to get to the ball. So as soon as I go up, I have to release all my angles, period, okay? So, and the main reason that we go into extension is because of setup, not because of something like, the most important thing you understand is that if your setup or your posture is bad, you're gonna go into early extension. Now everybody tells you it's a flexibility or mobility thing. It's false, okay? Completely false. The reason we go into early extension, number one, I don't care how old you are, I get them to do it all day long, or how bad your back is because of the fact that our posture is bad, period, okay? So if my butt's more under you, my shoulders are rounded, armpits over the balls of your feet, so I can give you a little visual here. There's your balls of your feet, right about there, and your armpits are there. I don't know if I'm in line, but let's just say I'm in balls of the feet, kneecaps, armpits. I say balls of the feet, kneecaps, armpits, but are they really? It depends on how tall you are. Now, if you can't get in that position because you're 6'6", get longer clubs, but don't go this way. Get wider, because the wider you get, the closer you are to the ground, okay? I don't want you to have to compensate because you're so tall by going here, okay? That's why you see a lot of shorter players, they don't look like they're having struggles with balance, okay? Because they're already close to the ground. So armpits over the balls of your feet, you'll have a little rounding, butt will be more under you, which will want to make it go more out. The pelvis will want to go back. So armpits over the balls of the feet, upper back rounded, you're more tall. But as soon as we get here and get ready is as soon as we early extend immediately. As simple as that, okay? Remember that. Peace. Okay, so we're going to talk about the two postures, C posture and S posture. So S posture, to me, looks prettier, but it also looks like you're straining, and it looks uncomfortable for sure, okay? So S posture would be more of this little arch in the back. Shoulders are actually going to go more into erect position. and you're gonna be getting ready. Now, all you're doing is getting ready like a shortstop to move, okay? But in golf, you're not getting ready to move yet, okay? You're not ready to load. All of a sudden, you get in this S posture. Number one, to get to the ball, I'm too tall, so I have to go armpits over the toes now. Now, immediately for balance, I'm not gonna stay in this. I'm gonna always get balance under me, okay? Now I have to release my angles. I can't turn. Contact's bad, direction's bad, everything's bad, okay? So as soon as you think you're ready, you're gonna unload, okay? So getting into this S posture not only hurts your back, okay? You're not a model, okay? So we're not trying to model here. We're trying to hit the ball hard, okay? So I'm not getting ready till here, okay? So all you guys getting ready here are doing this immediately, okay? So take that S posture and make it an F posture, because it's terrible, okay? You need to be just chilling here, okay, into a C posture, and I'll show you how to make that pretty in the next segment. But right now, let's get away from this and the neck and all this straightness, because now all of a sudden your armpits are on your toes, and you're always gonna do this through the ball. Plain and simple. It's not gonna work. So you can say, hey, Adam Scott does it, or certain players do it. Well, guess what? I could do this, okay? I could take this club and go here, 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 and hit a ball and shoot under par. But the fact is, I'm never gonna shoot under par again. It's not gonna happen over and over, okay? You're getting lucky. So you say Adam Scott's getting lucky. Well, Adam Scott is very tall here. His armpits are on his toes. He also plays the ball on the hosel, and he moves back and moves back. Everybody else who does what he does would hit the toe of the ball or have to change swing directions to hit it on the face, or they're going to end up going, they're going to go from here to here and have to release all their angles. So he's super talented. Let's just leave it at that. No one else is going to get away with murder like that, and no one ever has, okay? So let's leave it at that. Let's stop the S posture and get more into the C posture, and we'll talk about how to make the C posture not look so ugly for you guys so you can play and look good, okay? Peace. What we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the C posture, not the C walk. You've seen me do the C walk. So the C posture, okay, is just chilling, okay? Your butt is more under you. You've got rounded shoulders. You look kind of like the ping guy or the old man, right? Now the cool thing about this is you're not getting ready and you're not going exploding. You're just chilling here, okay? Armpits over the balls of your feet. Now you're pretty tall, so you have to round your upper body to get there, okay? The butt's more under you. And now all of a sudden, you're going to want to go back into this S posture, okay? It's just naturally going to happen. And now you're going to create some space here. Your arm's going to be bent. You're going to create a lot of space here rather than being here and then going into this action and having to release all your angles for balance, okay? So when we look at this C posture, it doesn't look pretty. So we're going to stand straight up and down, knees here, okay? No arch, no pelvis back, none of this, okay? No arch here, just more under you, okay? Now, when people do this, you got to watch out that they're doing it and their armpits are not way back on the heels, okay? That's bad too, because all of a sudden you're going to set up like this and you're going to move your armpits in the backswing to the balls of the feet. Now you're balanced, but you're too close to the ball. So now you're going to stand up because you're too close, and you're going to release angles, contacts bad, dynamic lofts high. There's just a lot of bad things that go on there too. So as you're doing this C posture, you're just chilling, your armpits are over the balls of your feet. You are going to bend over a little bit at the waist. That's not what I asked for. Butt under you. Make sure your armpits are over the balls of your feet. I'm going to ask my cameraman here. Are my armpits close to over the balls of the feet? And the butt's under me? Good, right there, how's that? It's under me a little bit? Now all of a sudden it's gonna go, and I'm gonna create some space. And that's really the secret, okay? It's the secret to everything. And so what everybody's trying to do, because they are in this S posture, this is S posture, okay? What happens is, through the ball, they're all going like this. So you're putting chairs on your back, you're putting all this crap on your back, you're making devices to be able to stay inside this. I mean, and I've got all these devices too, and I'll use them if I need to after you've done the C posture, okay? But until then, get your posture right, and you guys can talk all the trash you want, but you can watch all my guys win every single week because of their posture looks bad to you, okay? It's plain and simple. You guys can all look good and your scores be high, or you can look like this and smash the ball. Simple as that. Peace. All right, guys, I've got a couple guys here that I want you to understand that that's pretty equal on each side. It's a little off, which means he's got a little more pressure on the right side. And I'm going to show you a couple things. If you look at Mike Weir, and people go, okay, Mike Weir hasn't done anything for a while. This is when he was actually playing well. And that's not my point I'm trying to make here, okay? When you set up, this is your pelvis here, okay? And I'll explain in person right now. And your pelvis, your spine would be tilted here. So how are these guys tilted a little bit more? How are they? Okay, so the lower spine's here, the upper spine's tilted a little bit more over here. His lower spine is supposed to be a pelvis that's level there, which it wasn't. His lower spine's gonna be about here, his upper spine's gonna tilt a little bit more. Now, how much are they tilting? I'll show you right now. So if I drew a line through the middle of his body at 90 here, let's see if we can get that to 90. That should be right through the center of his body at his belt. You're gonna see that he's back about 15 degrees of tilt from 180, okay? Now, with a wedge, I'd say you'd want your tilt about 180. It's optimal for flight, okay? As he throws his right lateral bend, I'll show you, he's got about 15 degrees of tilt. Now, Mike Weir over here has about 7 degrees of tilt. Now, where's the tilt coming from? I'm going to go to another guy over here, and then we're going to go into some explanations. Now, before I do that, you're going to see that the same guy over here just had 7 degrees of tilt, and I'm going to show you where all this tilt comes from and what we want to do. So now he's got 3 degrees of tilt from 180 from, what club is this? His 7-iron, okay? So I'm going to show you where the right lateral bend comes in and how much tilt we want and what we need to do with the pelvis and all the rest. So let's come over here, okay? So you can see how I measure it first. Now, what I want you to understand is the pelvis is shaped right in here, okay? The spine is attached to it. So anytime we move this pelvis, the spine is going to lean either way, okay? So that's the way I want to do it. I want you to understand the pelvis controls a lot of the tilts in the spine, okay? So here's the deal. I'd like to see you have your hips level at address. Do they have to be? No. But I'd say, here we go. If I have a wedge, I can have more of my center forward, okay? Why? Because I'm trying to compress a wedge, or I'm trying not to have much movement. I'm not trying to create speed, but on just an optimal straight on shot, I'd like to see the pelvis in the middle of the feet, which means my belt buckle's straight in here. So it's not over here, and it's not over here, it's straight on. Now, the more and more I get the pelvis forward, it tends to get you closed out. The more and more I get the pelvis back, it tends to get you aim left, okay? Now, back to the point of right lateral bend, okay? So now that my pelvis is tilted nowhere, because I'm straight up and down, this would be like a wedge shot, okay? Now, why would I want to have any right lateral bend at address? If I want to hit an optimal shot for a driver, most players are not stacked over here. Could you be stacked here and back out and be perfect? Of course you could, but it's going to be harder to rotate through the shot, okay? Let's get real. I could set up over here, or I could set up over here and still hit a good shot. I'm not saying you can't hit a good shot. What I'm saying is for optimal ball flight, optimal spin rate, all the rest, I would love to see you set up straight up and down, have a little right lateral bend, which is basically like dropping your shoulder here, having a crunch in your side. Now, as I do that, did that affect my pelvis? No, okay? They are complete opposite. So I'm straight up and down, little right lateral bend, and that's where I'm at. So now my shoulders are on an incline to hit the ball more on the up. Now, if I was hitting a wedge, I'd get more narrow. Pelvis is still in the middle. I'd have less lateral bend here, okay? Very little, so I'm more into a straight up and down. If I got wider, and was going to hit a driver, I'd tilt here, but I would not do this, okay? So once you understand that, right lateral bend is a big deal to do a lot of things, for speed, to get the ball up in the air, for actually swing plane. I mean, and we don't use the word swing plane anymore, but whatever. It gets you right in the slot. Let's put it that way, okay? And it's as simple as that, so let's try and keep it simple and end it right there, all right? Peace. About pre-shot routine and how boring it is for a lot of you guys, okay? I've got two sides of the pre-shot. I got the mental pre-shot, and then I've also got the pre-shot timed, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to understand that there's a stepping to it, and every time I walk into a ball, it's timed. I don't time it. I have a personal clock in my head. And so for me, what I do, and you don't have to do it, pre-shot basically just means consistency, okay? So consistency doesn't come from you beating a million balls. It comes from the brain. If your brain is thinking the same thing, every time you walk in, you're going to get the same results. But if you hook one and then all of a sudden you're trying to do something else, guess what? It's going to go a mile right, and then you're going to go back and forth, okay? So the thing is that's why pre-shot is so important. We all learn that setup's the most important, but no one tells us why. We all talk about pre-shot, but no one tells us why. It's because it puts your mind in the same place every time you walk into the ball. So that needs to be timed. If you're doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. If every time you walk in, it's a little different, you're going to get different results, okay? That's the key, all right? So as I walk back, I'm going to go, this is my personal pre-shot, and do what you want to do. Look at the pros, copy one of them, but do it the same way every time. I go 1, 2 yards away. Do I walk 2 yards away? No, I don't. I have an instinct of how far I am now. I've been right here 2 yards away basically since I've been playing golf, okay? So I'm 2 yards away from it. Now, if I'm going to take a practice swing, I'm going to do it wherever I'm going to do it. My practice swing is always different. Okay, whether I just hit a hook, I'm going to go a little bit more cutty here, or I'll get the face and just play the draw for the day. And so once I've got my swing, we'll talk about the mental part next, but once I've got my swing motion, and I already have my shot pattern in my pre-shot of, hey, I'm going to hit this 185 yards, it's a tuck left pin, all the strategy, I take my practice swings, I get behind 2 yards behind it, I look at my start line, and we're going to talk about the mental part, but this is the plan here. I walk left, right, left, okay? And so I've got my feet here. I put my right hand on. Some people already have their hands on. We're going to talk about what you guys want to do. I put my hand in. I look at the target. I go left, right. I look once. I look twice. And then I pull the trigger. So you'll watch again, 2 yards away. Here's what I do without talking. Tap once, I tap twice, and then I go, okay? So that's where I'm going with setup. That has nothing to do with the mental side of it or the pre-before, but you gotta be able to walk in the same way every time. So when I see a player here, and they're back here, and one time I see them twirling their club, and then I got him on video side by side with each other, and the next time he's got it in his left hand. And I'm like, what are you doing, okay? Well, it doesn't matter that much. Yeah, it does matter that much, okay? Then the next time I see him up here, and I put him side by side on my camera, and they're walking in different times, they're looking different times, everything's different, and they wonder why they're not consistent, okay? When you put the club down, if you want to put it in both hands, one hand, I don't care what you want to do, but you do it every time. You step in, you look, you don't even have to waggle. You can do whatever you want, whatever makes you comfortable. I want same looks. I don't want to see one time 50 looks and the next time 2 looks out at the target. I want to see the same exact looks. And for me personally, it takes me 11 seconds. Now, why does it take me 11 seconds? Because I copied the best of all time, Tiger Woods. Every swing he took, or he has taken, was 11 seconds when he was on, okay? If you're playing bad, you're going to be looking, and it's going to be like 15, 20 seconds like old school Sergio, okay? But right now, 11 seconds for me is good, 9 seconds, 10, I don't care what it is. If you're a faster player, make it a little quicker, slower, play a little slower, hopefully not that slow. But figure it out and make it the same all the time, and that's consistency. Peace. All right, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the mental part of pre-shot routine, okay? So I just did a pre-shot right previously to that on the timing of it, okay? How many steps you walk in, you're doing the same exact thing. Now we're going to talk about the mental part, which is the most important, okay? They have mental bands, or it's called a focus band. It's focus band, okay? I put it on for the first time and it went all green and everybody's all, how'd you do it? I've done that, and I've taught my juniors to do that and my pros since I've been doing it, okay? So the cool thing is when they put it on, they're like, dude, you're all green. I'm all, thank you, okay? So here's what we're gonna look at. Number one, we're out here, I'm always gonna look at strategy, okay? I always practice with tuck pins, back pins, front pins, because that doesn't let you just hit into la-la land, okay? You gotta have a purpose to your practice. Now, if you're sitting down there and you're working on your motion, yeah, work on your motion. Work on whatever you're trying to do in your golf swing in order to create the shot pattern you want. But after you've worked on your golf swing, let's test it with a scenario, okay? So here's the pre-shot mental part of it. First thing is I have to get everything adjusted in my brain, okay? Number one, let's look. I'm gonna start this, it's a tuck left pin. It's 185 yards, it's a back left pin. So I can't go left and I cannot go along a 185. So I'm gonna try and hit anywhere from 180 to 182. But I'm gonna pick a yardage for me, which is 182. So that means my rehearsals aren't gonna be full because I hit this 7 and 195. So it's gonna be about right here. So I'm gonna rehearse exactly the length, okay? And I'm gonna tell you exactly what we're doing here. Now, people say you can't go left, you can't say the word can't, okay? So I agree with them. This is the mental side of it. So I'm gonna tell you that's my strategy. I'm not missing left, I'm not missing long, I'm gonna start at the 175, I can see the curve that I want, and I've rehearsed that a million times. Now here's where the mental part gets in. I've got all the strategy taken care of. Now, I'm gonna tell you out loud what I'm thinking for my golf swing. I am going, one, no wrist, up top, full turn, okay? I have some thoracic spine starting at P3 here, up to here. I'm staying in some front bend, my legs are coming up. As I start down, I'm not pulling down. I am leaving my arms up and I'm turning, okay? Now, the problem is I did a full swing there. I'm only doing one to here. I'm leaving the arms here, I'm leaving them here, and I'm leaving them here the whole time. I'm not pulling them back in town. Now that's my thought for the golf swing. I could never hit a shot like that while I'm over the ball thinking of that, okay? So that was my first practice swing with a thought, telling my coach out loud what I'm doing. Now here's the next one. I'm gonna make that same thing a feel, okay? I took all my thoughts out, I made it a feel. There's a huge difference, okay? Now, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my eyes external. What do I do by going external? You have two kinds of focus. There's more than two kinds of focus, but the two focuses that I really concentrate on with my players is internal and external focus. Internal focus is if you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden you're like, and you're really thinking about something else. You're internal. You're somewhere else, okay? Or you're looking out, but you're not seeing anything. You're internally thinking about what you have to do in your day. Whatever's going on in your mind's up to you, okay? If you are external, means you're right there in the moment. You're seeing the nature, you're hearing the sounds. I'm doing it right now. I feel a lot better. That's the secret for me of life, is to get out of my head. I open my eyes wide. I look around at the nature. People do it by tracing trees, looking for birds, hearing sounds, 3 sounds, 4 sounds. I don't care what it is, but I hear sounds, I smell, and I'm seeing, and it's enjoyable, okay? That's where I go after I've done that next part. Now what do? Now I can make reasonable decisions. Now I say, am I okay with any outcome? The reason we have problems in life, period, is we're not okay with any outcome. If you're okay with any outcome, I'm okay with hitting in the water left. I'm okay with blocking it right. I'm okay with topping it. Why? Because if I'm okay with that, guess what happens? Where's my fear? I don't have any fear. And if I don't have fear, guess what? I'm going to be at my optimal level. That doesn't mean I'm going to play the best all the time. It means that I'm not going to be beat by fear. What's going to happen is my focus is now on what I'm trying to do, not what I'm not trying to do, okay? And that's the biggest problem, is that everybody says, hey, just relax or just do this or that. How about you're okay with anything? You're okay to die, okay? You're okay to snap hook it. You're okay to get laughed at by all your friends. Guess what? Where's your fear? You don't have it, okay? So what I do to my players is after that I say, are you okay with any outcome? And they go, I'm okay with any outcome. Tristan Gretzky goes, a quadrant. I'm okay with topping it. I'm okay with snap hooking. I'm okay with blocking it. I'm okay with hitting it over the back of the green. Guess what? He's relaxed now. Now, the next thing I do is after that, I'm okay with any outcome. I focus on my start line. I breathe in. I get real heavy. My eyes are really, really faded, like old Tiger, like Jason Day's doing right now. My arms get relaxed. I'm squinty eye, can barely see anything except for the 175 where my start line's at. I'm so relaxed, I have zero thought. I'm in a haze, I'm almost in a meditative state. I walk in, 1, 2, 3. I look once, I look twice, tap, and I go. Now, that's the way I go. Now, I did that, I explained every detailed part of it. Now I'm gonna do it real quick for you, okay? And I'm gonna actually hit a shot. Okay, if you look on my GG Swing Tips Instagram account, you'll see that I did it with the focus band on, and I'll tell you what it did. If it's red, that means you're thinking. If it's yellow, that means you're in between. And if it's green, it means that your mind is definitely off, okay? So here's the deal. I have 187 yards, pins tuck left. I'm gonna start at the 175, which is about 5 yards right of it. Is 187 a full 7-iron? Almost. Okay, so I'm almost gonna take it the full way. I'm going up to the top, my shoulders are all the way back. I'm gonna leave my arms here, no pull down, and I'm gonna actually get my legs to go external all the way down to here, and I'm gonna hit this lower so I'm not gonna extend up, and I'm gonna turn right through it. Now, I'm gonna make that whole motion a feel. Boom, okay? Now, I've gone external. My eyes are wide open. Am I okay with any outcome? Yes, I'm okay with anything. Breathe in. Get real heavy. My eyes are heavy. Okay, I had zero thought. And I don't care if you like the swing or not because I just thumped it. I hit it great. Now, the point is, if I looked at my swing on video and then I went and judged it, hey, I could change it, but I would never do it over the ball, okay? Let's say that I didn't hit that perfect and I got another shot here. Now what do? You just go into la la land again? Here's what I do. I go, okay, I overhooked that, which I didn't, but let's say I did. I have a couple options. I'm gonna get my face more right. I'm gonna add rotation to the body. I'm gonna change my ball position. I'm gonna get my feet more left. I'm gonna come over the top. I got like 4 or 5. You go to your golf pro and you say, I got all these situations to not hook it, or all these ways to not hook it. Which one are you gonna pick? Commit to it. You've got 187 again and you can't hook this. So now you're figuring I'm gonna get a little more steep on it. I'm gonna actually rotate more and come over it a little bit. Now, let's make that a feel. Now let's get external. Outside your head, get right here, right now. Am I okay with any outcome? Well, I just hooked my last one. Do you think I'm thinking about that? No. I'm out of my head. Breathe in. Eyes hazy. No thought. So do I have any thought right now? Only because I'm talking to you. Otherwise, I'd have no thought. I'd go in, boom, I hit the shot, and guess what? I had no thought of the previous shot, which means I already rehearsed all that back here. I didn't do it over the ball. I hooked it now. Okay, I hooked my swing more left. I'm thinking that over the ball. Guess what? You can hit the ball like crap all day long. Your mind's gonna be on, you're not gonna have any fun. So do everything back here mentally and prepare for the next shot at hand. And it's as simple as that, okay? So get out of your head, okay? Don't think anything over the ball about mechanics ever unless you're working on emotion, okay? Judge yourself after that. Now, that's the key to golf right there, is really understanding how to get out of your head and how to practice, and we'll talk about how much practice to do, mechanics compared to where you shut it off and go into scenarios when you practice. But that's just, I do about a lot of it back here that way to test it, and I always do that back behind it just like that when I'm playing on the golf course, and you need to do the same thing. And does every tour player do that? No, the best do, and they don't talk about it. Why? That's why they're the best, okay? Because I'm not leaving any secrets for you guys. I'm actually going to show you how to become the best, okay? Simple as that, all right? It's about enough. Peace.